Good evening, welcome back. We're going to be summarizing Module 2 in Course 3. So let's not waste any time. Let's get back to Lesson 1. Lesson 1 talks about key considerations of when selling a condominium. So there's a lot of reading here. I do suggest you read it. When comparing condominiums for a buyer, you still want to consider the monthly maintenance fees, what they include, the available amenities such as a swimming pool or gym, the condition of common elements such as hallways and parking lots, and the ability to make alterations as well as those made by the seller. Financial status and reserve. All condominium corporations in Ontario are required to have a reserve fund, which is made of money contributed from the monthly condominium fees. Funds are set aside for major repairs and replacements of the corporation's common elements and assets. These funds must be allocated in the developer's first year budget and set aside as soon as the condominium corporation is registered. The reserve fund is in place to cover the cost of repairs or replacements of common elements such as an elevator, so that the unit holder does not have an extra financial burden. Reserve funds amounts vary according to the common elements and physical assets, level of maintenance, wear and tear, and history of funding the reserve funds. Key documents for a key documentations for a resale condominium. The status certificate is a statutory form that provides key information about the condominium corporation's management, board of directors, condominium unit, the condominium corporation's financial state, including the reserve fund, pending legal proceedings, and number of units leased. Upon request, the corporation is required to give a status certificate for a unit in the corporation within 10 days of the request. Attachments included with the status certificate, such as the current fiscal year's budget, give a full picture of the condominium corporation's financial health and legal standings. The agreement of purchase and sale condominium resale, or REIA Form 101, is designed for resale condominium transactions. Typically, you draft the agreement of purchase and sale and obtain advice from the buyer's lawyer if needed. You can advise the buyer on clauses and items in the agreement of purchase and sale, but must ensure the buyer's lawyer carefully reviews it along all condominium documents. The agreement of purchase and sale condominium resale differs from its residential resale counterpart with respect to the property description, common expenses, parking and lockers, status certificate, and management of condominium meetings and approval of the agreement. The status certificate and other condominium documents provide a snapshot of the corporation's financial, structural, administrative, and legal health. For this reason, adding a clause that requires a review of these documents by the buyer's real estate lawyer is recommended. Factors that impact the mortgage financing for condominiums. Factors that impact the mortgage financing for condominiums. When evaluating a condominium for a buyer, you will need to review these items that can impact the mortgage financing. 1. Status certificate. 2. Impact of tenant to owner ratio and types of tenancies. And 3. Gross debt service. A real estate lawyer should review the status certificate to ensure the reserve fund is not underfunded. Underfunding could mean an increased cost for the buyer, as well as type of tenancy allowed in the condominium complex can impact the marketability and cost of condominium unit. Lenders generally seek a gross debt service lower than 35% to qualify for a mortgage. High condominium fees can make this difficult to achieve. That was lesson 1. Moving on to lesson 2. Completing an inspection. So make sure you follow these typical steps. Investigate the internal and external environment. Note how the exterior condition can impact the interior. Assess the condition of the exterior, even though the cost of maintaining is by the condominium corporation. Assess the common elements and facilities. Determine whether the layout differs from other similar units. Document disclosures made by the seller. Calculating the area. Measurement criteria can vary based on procedures detailed in the condominium declaration and description, and the type of condominiums. The total square footage of a unit is measured inside is the measurement inside of the unit. So any other areas in a common element which would not be included in the total square footage. Salesperson, you will need to verify all measurements prior to listing. When quoting total square footage in the listing, you should only provide the square footage of the unit, not the total living area. Be sure to disclose to the buyer the source of the measurements. Moving on to lesson 3, preparing a list of condominium unit for sale. So when gathering information about a condominium and the condominium corporation, cover the maintenance fees, exclusive use common elements, repair/upgrades done by the owner, and parking and locker. You need to gather information about use restrictions, which place limitations on unit owners as found in the declaration and rules. Considerations associated with purchasing a condominium. Helping a buyer find a resale condominium, consider these features. 1. Potential of new development to change the view/block of the view. Potential impact of condominium's financial health. Inherited condition of common elements and amenities, and deferred maintenance to the common elements, which could result in an increased condominium fee. Condition of any exclusive use common elements. Maintenance to the unit, alterations done, parking/storage, garbage and recycling service. 2 ways to increase the appeal of condominium: the interior improvements and the staging techniques that can increase the appeal of the condominium market to the market. Lesson 4 talks about factors affecting the value of condominium units. So there are situations that warrant an appraiser in the valuation of a condominium. Those similar to residential appraisals, condominiums. Condominium appraisals are different in that they must pay the attention to the competency of the corporation, directors, and health of the reserve fund to maintain the common elements. Overlooking this can be detrimental to a deal and can open buyers up to a risk for future financial consequences. Ensuring this is done properly will mitigate risk and liabilities. Appraisals for condominiums are done by financial institutes when a property is going to be sold under power of sale as a result of the owner defaulting on a mortgage. An appraisal is also needed for estate and tax planning, as well as to assign a value to the property if there is an inheritance involved. You would only be consulted to potentially find an appraisal for the seller. Appraisals are required should an owner be considering refinancing the unit. They are done when buyer is placing a mortgage on the unit and for unique properties when listing. Appraisals are initiated by condominium corporations if there is no mortgage to recover outstanding common element fees in preparation for the unit being sold via power of sale. Factors that may affect the value. The external environment can affect the value of the condominium. Stay up to date with what is new and planned for the neighborhood, as this could significantly impact unit value and buyer's ownership. Given the condominium is generally managed and looked by external condominium management providers, it is important to assess the quality and effectiveness of the management. Maintenance fees are another factor. Condominium corporations has high maintenance fees relative to other similar complexes with comparable amenities. Then the value of the unit within that subject condominium may be negatively impacted. Special assessments can have a negative impact on the value of condominiums depending on the amount of special assessment, payment schedule, and the reason why it is needed. Buyers may be put off purchasing a condominium unit with a special assessment or may require a deep discount of the selling price. Ways in which a comparative market analysis for a condominium differs from other residential real properties is the comparative market analysis for a condominium differs from other residential properties, and certain factors may affect the value of the condominium. This is key in understanding how property compares to others by assessing the needed information and understanding the factors both internal and external to know how to position the property in the market to get full value. That was lesson 4. Moving on to lesson 5, what is a salesperson's role? That is very easy. Basically, you must protect and promote your seller's best interests, and with the goal of providing the highest level of conscious and competent service. You must conduct due diligence in collecting property information. You must have knowledge, skill, and judgment. And if you have no knowledge, you must tell them to seek other professionals who do have the expertise. Obligations: knowledge of material facts about condominium units or parcel tied to land and the condominium corporation, and any latent defects are important factors that influence buyer considering submitting an offer. This information must be gathered and presented to buyers so they can make an educated decision based on important factors about condominiums. Material facts can influence a buyer's decision to purchase. Knowing where to look, what questions to ask, and who to ask are skills that a knowledgeable salesperson should develop and use to properly protect their clients. So this was basically lesson 5. Lesson 6 is summary practice. Module summary is basically everything we've talked about. So module 2 is summarized. I hope you learned something. I'll be back with module 3 soon.